Promise me you'll take care of her, Deborah. She's always loved you best." Those words still echo in my head 3 years later, even though I know now they were nothing but manipulation wrapped in fake tears. My name is Deborah, and I used to believe family meant something. I was 29 when my mother Krista called me at my lab in Boston. I'd been working on a breakthrough research for early stage cancer detection, work that mattered, work that could save lives. But when she told me Grandma Liza was dying and needed full-time care, I didn't hesitate. "The nursing homes are horrible," Krista sobbed into the phone. "She's asking for you specifically. You know how much that house means to our family." The house, Grandma's beautiful Victorian in Salem, worth easily 400,000. It had been in our family for generations. "Of course I'll come," I said, already mentally packing my life into boxes. "You're such a good girl, Deborah. Victoria and I have been discussing it, and we both agree. After everything you'll be sacrificing, the house should be yours. It's only fair." My Aunt Victoria got on the line then, her voice crisp and businesslike as always. "We've talked it through. You're giving up your career, your life in Boston. The house will be your inheritance. We'll make sure of it." I should have gotten that in writing, but back then I still believed in family loyalty. The first few months weren't so bad. Grandma Eliza was still herself, sharp, funny, full of stories about the old days. We'd sit in her garden and she'd tell me about my grandfather, about raising my mother and Victoria during the Depression. "Your mother was always ambitious," she said one afternoon, watching me deadhead her roses. "But ambition without heart is a dangerous thing." I thought she was just reminiscing. I didn't realize she was warning me. As Grandma's condition worsened, I watched my old life disappear piece by piece. My research position was filled. My apartment lease expired. Friends stopped calling when I couldn't make plans anymore. But I told myself it was temporary, that I was doing something meaningful. Krista and Victoria visited exactly twice in 3 years. Both times they spent more time appraising furniture than talking to their dying mother. "This china set is worth a fortune," Victoria whispered during their last visit, running her fingers over Grandma's wedding dishes. "The jewelry alone could pay for a nice vacation," Krista added, eyeing Grandma's antique pearl necklace. They didn't think I could hear them from the kitchen, but I heard every word. That night Grandma called me to her bedside. Her hands were so thin I could see every vein, but her grip was surprisingly strong. "Deborah, honey, I need to tell you something important." "What is it, Grandma?" "I know what they promised you about the house." Her eyes were clearer than they'd been in weeks. "But I also know my daughters. They've been planning to sell this place the moment I'm gone." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I mean they've been lying to you, sweetheart. They think you're naive, that you'll just accept whatever scraps they throw you." She squeezed my hand tighter. "But I have a plan. Tomorrow we're going to call my lawyer. His name is Darnell, and he's going to help us make sure you get what you deserve." "Grandma, I don't understand." "Trust no one but the lawyer, Deborah, not even Lindsay. Family isn't always blood, and blood isn't always family." Her voice was getting weaker, but her words were crystal clear. "Promise me you'll remember that." I promised, though I didn't fully understand what she meant then. 2 weeks later, Grandma Eliza passed away in her sleep. I held her hand as she took her last breath, whispering that I loved her and that I'd take care of everything just like I promised. The funeral was a circus. Distant relatives I'd never met showed up, all offering their condolences while eyeing the house like vultures. Krista played the grieving daughter perfectly, dabbing her eyes with tissues while accepting sympathy from neighbors. Victoria was more direct. "We'll need to discuss arrangements tomorrow," she told me after the service. "There's a lot to sort through." I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. I thought she meant funeral expenses, personal belongings, the normal things you deal with after someone dies. I had no idea they were about to destroy what was left of my world. Standing in that empty house after everyone left, surrounded by the silence that only comes after death, I felt the first real stirring of dread. Grandma's words echoed in my mind. Trust no one but the lawyer. Tomorrow would change everything. I just didn't know how much. The next morning came too soon. I'd barely slept, tossing and turning in Grandma's guest room, my room for the past 3 years. The house felt different without her presence, hollow and waiting. Krista arrived first, her heels clicking across the hardwood floors like a countdown timer. She'd traded yesterday's funeral black for a sharp business suit that screamed efficiency. Coffee? I offered, trying to keep my voice steady. No time? She set her purse down on the kitchen table with a decisive thud. Victoria will be here any minute, and we have a lot to cover. Victoria swept in without knocking, carrying a leather briefcase and wearing the expression of someone about to conduct a hostile takeover. She barely glanced at me. Is everything ready? Victoria asked Krista, ignoring my existence entirely. Ready for what? I asked. They exchanged a look, the kind of look that passes between conspirators who've rehearsed their lines. Sit down, Deborah, Krista said, her voice taking on that patronizing tone I remembered from childhood. We need to discuss your situation. My situation. Not our family's loss, not Grandma's estate, not our shared grief. My situation. I sat at the kitchen table where I'd eaten breakfast with Grandma every morning for 3 years. Victoria opened her briefcase with the precision of a surgeon, pulling out a manila envelope and a stack of papers. First, we want to thank you, Krista began, for everything you've done these past few years. Mother was lucky to have you here. She was my grandmother, too, I said quietly. Of course. Victoria's smile was razor thin. Which is why we prepared something for you, a token of our appreciation. She slid the manila envelope across the table. It was thin, too thin to contain anything meaningful. My hand shook as I opened it. $500, 5 crisp $100 bills. I stared at the money, my brain struggling to process what I was seeing. 3 years of my life, my career, my future, reduced to $500. We know it's not much, Krista said, but Mother's medical expenses were enormous. The house needs significant repairs before we can sell it, and there are debts to settle. Sell it? The words came out as a whisper. Well, yes. Victoria's tone suggested I was being deliberately obtuse. The house is far too large for any of us to maintain. The market is good right now, and we've already had interest from a buyer. But you promised? We promised to take care of you, Krista interrupted. And we are. $500 should cover your moving expenses and give you a little cushion while you figure out your next steps. I looked up from the money to find them both watching me with the detached interest of scientists observing a lab rat. No warmth, no regret, no acknowledgement of what they were taking from me. You want me to leave, I said. By Friday, Victoria confirmed, checking her watch. The buyers want to walk through this weekend, and it would be awkward if you were still here. Friday, 3 days to pack up 3 years of my life and find somewhere to go with $500 to my name. Where am I supposed to go? My voice cracked despite my efforts to stay composed. Krista's expression softened just enough to be insulting. Honey, you're 32 years old. You're smart, capable. This is your chance to start fresh, build your own life instead of living in the past. I gave up everything for her, for this family. And we're grateful, Victoria said, already packing her papers back into the briefcase. But life moves on. Mother wouldn't want you to be stuck here forever. The casual dismissal hit me like a physical blow. They'd planned this, every word, every gesture, every fake sympathetic look. They'd probably been planning it for months, maybe years. I need some air, I managed, pushing back from the table. Of course, Krista said. Take your time to process. But Deborah, Friday is firm. The buyers are serious, and we can't afford to lose this opportunity. I walked outside on unsteady legs, the envelope still clutched in my hand. The morning sun felt too bright, the birds too cheerful, everything normal while my world crumbled. Behind me, I could hear them talking in low voices, probably discussing paint colors and staging tips, planning their windfall while I stood in the garden where Grandma and I had spent countless hours together. That's when I remembered her words. Trust no one but the lawyer. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number Grandma had made me save months ago. Darnell Ortiz, attorney at law. My finger hovered over the call button. Part of me wanted to just take the money and leave, to avoid the fight that was coming. But a bigger part, the part that had spent 3 years watching Grandma fade away while her daughters counted their inheritance, was done being the family doormat. I pressed call. Mr. Ortiz, this is Deborah Montgomery. I think it's time we had that conversation. I've been waiting for your call, Darnell said, his voice warm but serious. Can you meet me at my office this afternoon, 2 o'clock? Yes, but I need to ask, what exactly did my grandmother tell you? Everything, and I mean everything. Just bring yourself, Deborah. I have everything else we need. After hanging up, I went back inside. Krista and Victoria were gone, leaving only the lingering scent of Victoria's expensive perfume and a business card on the counter. Griffin Ramirez, real estate investment, with a handwritten note, viewing Saturday, 10 a.m. I climbed the stairs to Grandma's room, my heart pounding. If she really had planned something, there would be signs. She was meticulous about everything. Her bedroom looked exactly as she'd left it, but I knew where to look. Behind her dresser, in the space she'd shown me, in case of emergency, I found a thick manila folder wedged between the wall and furniture. Inside were photocopies of bank statements, medical bills, and a handwritten journal in Grandma's careful script. The entries went back 2 years. March 15th. Krista called asking about my financial situation, wanted to know about my savings account, told her it was none of her business. April 2nd. Victoria suggested I sign a power of attorney, just in case. Declined. She seemed angry. June 10th. Found Krista going through my desk while Deborah was at the pharmacy. She claimed she was looking for stamps. Page after page of documentation. My hands shook as I read entry after entry detailing their attempts to access Grandma's finances, their casual cruelty toward me, their plans for the house. The final entry was dated just 2 weeks before she died. They think I'm a foolish old woman, but I see everything. Deborah sacrificed her life for me, and they want to throw her away like garbage. Not on my watch. Darnell has everything he needs. Justice is coming. At the bottom of the folder was a thick envelope marked for Deborah's eyes only in Grandma's handwriting. Inside was a notarized contract signed by both Grandma and me, dated 6 months ago. I remembered that day. Grandma had insisted we make things official about my caregiving arrangement. I thought it was just paperwork for her peace of mind. But this wasn't just a caregiving contract. It was a legal agreement stating that in exchange for full-time care, I would receive the house and all its contents upon her death, witnessed, notarized, and completely binding. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Darnell. Bring the folder from behind the dresser. Your grandmother told me exactly where you'd find it. At 2 o'clock sharp, I sat across from Darnell in his modest office. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with kind eyes and the confident bearing of someone who'd seen every dirty family trick in the book. Your grandmother was a remarkable woman, he said, reviewing the folder contents. She came to me 8 months ago, convinced her daughters were planning to cheat you out of your inheritance. She knew? She knew everything. the real estate agent they'd already contacted, their plans to sell quickly and split the proceeds, even their strategy for getting you out of the house fast. He pulled out a tablet. She also knew they'd underestimate you. He turned the screen toward me. It showed a video file dated 3 months ago. Grandma sat in her favorite chair looking directly at the camera. If you're watching this, Deborah, then I'm gone and they've shown their true colors. I want you to know that everything I'm doing is because you're the only one who truly cared about me, not my money. The video continued for 20 minutes. Grandma detailed every conversation, every manipulation attempt, every cruel comment Krista and Victoria had made about me when they thought she couldn't hear. I've made sure you'll get what you deserve, sweetheart. Not because you're family, but because you earned it. You gave up your life for me when no one else would. Darnell paused the video. There are 6 more recordings, all documenting their behavior and her intentions, plus the signed contract, financial records showing their attempts to access her accounts, and witness statements from neighbors who saw their visits. This is really happening, I whispered. It gets better. Your grandmother also documented every medical appointment they missed, every holiday they skipped, every time they promised to visit and didn't show. She built an airtight case for elder neglect. He leaned forward, his expression serious. Deborah, with this evidence, we can not only secure your inheritance, but potentially pursue criminal charges for financial elder abuse. They tried to manipulate a dying woman for money. What do? We give them one chance to do the right thing. A formal letter demanding they honor the contract and transfer the deed. If they refuse, he smiled grimly. Well, let's just say they won't be expecting what comes next. As I walked back to the house, my house according to the contract, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years: power. For 3 years I'd been the grateful victim, the family charity case, the spinster daughter who gave up everything for duty. But Grandma had seen the truth. She'd armed me with everything I needed to fight back. I was still clutching the folder when I heard voices from the kitchen. Krista and Victoria were back and they weren't alone. The staging company can be here Monday, a man's voice said. We'll have this place market ready in no time. Time to see how confident they really were. I slipped through the back door and up the stairs, clutching the folder against my chest. The voices in the kitchen grew clearer as I reached the landing. The foundation needs work, but nothing major. The unfamiliar male voice continued. I can close in 2 weeks, cash deal. No inspections, no complications. Perfect, Victoria said. We want this handled quickly and quietly. What about the girl living here? The man asked. She'll be gone by Friday, Krista replied dismissively. Just a temporary arrangement while Mother was sick. I pressed myself against the wall, listening to them carve up my life like it was nothing. Good. I hate dealing with tenants who think they have rights, the man laughed. My phone buzzed with a text. Lindsay, can I come over? Need to talk? 20 minutes later, my cousin knocked softly on the front door. I let her in, noting how she glanced nervously toward the kitchen where the voices had finally quieted. They left through the back, I said. Lindsay looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She'd always been the family peacekeeper, trying to smooth over every conflict. Deborah, I'm so sorry about yesterday, about all of this. Are you? She flinched at my tone. Of course I am. This isn't right what they're doing to you. But you're not going to stop them. I can't go against my mother. You know how she is. Lindsay's voice cracked. But I wanted to warn you. They're moving fast. The buyer is coming tomorrow morning, not Saturday. They want you gone before he gets here. Tomorrow? Mom thinks if you're still here, you might cause problems. Make the sale complicated. She twisted her hands together. They're scared you'll fight this. Maybe I should. Lindsay's eyes widened. Deborah, please don't. Just take the money and start over. Fighting them will only make things worse. Worse for who? For everyone, for the family. I stared at my cousin, this woman I'd grown up with, played with, confided in. She knew what I'd sacrificed. She'd seen me give up everything for Grandma. What family, Lindsay? The one that just handed me $500 for 3 years of my life? I know it's not enough, but it's not about the money. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo I'd taken of one of Grandma's journal entries. Did you know your mother tried to get power of attorney over Grandma's finances multiple times? Lindsay's face went pale as she read. I didn't know. Did you know they were planning this before Grandma even died? That they've been lying to me for months? Deborah, stop! Or how about this one? I scrolled to another photo. Where your mother called me a pathetic spinster who'll never amount to anything while Grandma was sleeping upstairs. Please stop. Tears were streaming down Lindsay's face now. Why? Because it's uncomfortable? Because it makes your perfect mother look like the manipulative? Because I already know, Lindsay exploded. I know what she's like, okay? I know she's cold and calculating and cares more about money than people, but she's still my mother, and I can't just abandon her. The kitchen fell silent. We stared at each other, years of unspoken truths hanging between us. I used to admire you, Lindsay whispered. When we were kids, you were so brave, so sure of yourself. I always wished I could be more like you. Then help me now. I can't. Won't. She nodded, wiping her eyes. I won't, I'm sorry. But I won't. After Lindsay left, I sat in Grandma's garden as the sun set, thinking about the girl I used to be, the one who'd graduated summa cum laude, who'd been accepted to medical school, who'd had research published in prestigious journals. My phone rang. Harmony, my old lab partner from Boston. I heard about your grandmother, she said. I'm so sorry, Deb. Thanks. It's been complicated. I bet. Listen, I know this might not be the right time, but there's an opening here. Dr. Martinez is looking for someone with your background for a new cancer research project. The pay is good, and they're willing to consider someone who's been out of the field. A lifeline, a chance to reclaim the career I'd abandoned. That sounds amazing, but I'm dealing with some family stuff right now. What kind of stuff? I found myself telling her everything, the promises, the betrayal, the $500. Harmony listened without interrupting. Jesus, Deb, that's horrible, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise. You could walk away from all that toxicity and start fresh. Maybe. Think about it, okay? You're too smart and talented to let them destroy your future along with your past. After we hung up, I sat in the growing darkness, Grandma's folder on my lap. I could take Harmony's advice, pack my things, take the job in Boston, leave Salem and all its painful memories behind. Or I could fight. I thought about Grandma's final journal entry, "Justice is coming." She trusted me to see this through, to stand up for myself in a way she'd never been able to stand up to her own daughters. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to Darnell. Send the letter tomorrow morning. It's time they learned what justice looks like. The certified letter arrived at 9 a.m. sharp. I watched from the upstairs window as the postal worker rang the doorbell, clipboard in hand. Krista answered, still in her bathrobe, clearly not expecting official mail. She signed for it with a confused frown, then tore it open right there on the doorstep. I saw the exact moment she read the first line. Her face went from confusion to shock to pure rage in about 3 seconds. "Victoria!" she screamed, storming back into the house. "Get over here now!" My phone rang 20 minutes later. Krista's name flashed on the screen, but I let it go to voicemail. Then Victoria called, then Krista again. By the time Victoria's car screeched into the driveway, I'd received 8 missed calls. I came downstairs as they burst through the front door like a SWAT team. What the hell is this? Victoria waved the letter in my face. I took it calmly and read Darnell's beautifully crafted words aloud. Dear Ms. Armstrong and Ms. Daniels, I represent Ms. Deborah Montgomery in the matter of her rightful inheritance of the property at 47 Elm Street, Salem, Massachusetts. Please be advised that my client possesses a legally binding contract. This is ridiculous, Krista interrupted. Mother was sick, confused. Any contract she signed isn't valid. She was evaluated by Dr. Peterson just 2 months before she signed this, I continued reading. He certified her as mentally competent and of sound mind. The contract is ironclad. Victoria snatched the letter back. You can't prove any of this. Actually, we can. Video testimony, witness statements, medical records, financial documentation showing your repeated attempts to access her accounts without authorization. I smiled sweetly. Should I go on? You're bluffing. But Victoria's voice wavered. Am I? The letter mentions potential criminal charges for financial elder abuse. Want to test that theory? Krista collapsed into a kitchen chair, her face ashen. Deborah, honey, let's talk about this reasonably. We're family. Now we're family? Yesterday I was getting $500 and a Friday eviction notice. We can negotiate, Victoria said quickly. Maybe split the house proceeds 3 ways, or the house isn't for sale. I pulled out my phone and showed them the contract. According to this legally binding document, witnessed and notarized, I am the sole heir to this property. You have no claim to it whatsoever. This is insane, Victoria spat. You manipulated a dying old woman. I manipulated her? My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. I gave up my career, my life, my future to take care of her while you two visited twice in 3 years. I was here for every doctor's appointment, every sleepless night, every moment of pain while you were planning your shopping sprees with her money. That's not, Krista started. It's all documented. Every missed visit, every broken promise, every time you called asking about her financial situation instead of her health. I leaned forward. Did you really think she didn't notice? The kitchen fell silent except for the ticking of Grandma's antique clock. What do you want? Victoria finally asked. I want you to transfer the deed to my name as specified in the contract. I want you to cancel whatever deal you made with your cash buyer, and I want you to never set foot in this house again. And if we refuse? Krista's voice was barely a whisper. Then my lawyer files criminal charges for financial elder abuse, and we let a jury decide whether 2 daughters who ignored their dying mother while trying to steal her money deserve any sympathy. Victoria's phone rang. She glanced at it and paled further. It's Griffin, the buyer. Answer it, I said. Tell him the deal's off. She stared at me for a long moment, then declined the call. You have 24 hours to contact your lawyer and begin the deed transfer, I continued. After that, we go public with everything. And trust me, in a town this size, everyone will know exactly what kind of daughters you really are. You're destroying this family, Krista whispered. I'm not destroying anything. I'm just refusing to be destroyed by it. After they left, Victoria slamming the door so hard the windows rattled, I sat in Grandma's favorite chair and opened my laptop. My hands shook slightly as I logged into Facebook and began typing. Sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who hurt you the deepest. Sometimes standing up for yourself means standing alone. But sometimes, just sometimes, the truth has a way of coming out. Family first. Justice matters. Truth wins. I posted it before I could second-guess myself. Within an hour, I had dozens of comments and messages, neighbors asking if I was okay, old friends from high school wanting to know what happened, even some distant relatives I barely knew expressing concern. My phone rang. Darnell. "I just got a very interesting call from Victoria's lawyer," he said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "Apparently they want to discuss terms." "What kind of terms?" "The kind where they do exactly what we asked and hope we don't press charges." He paused. "Deborah, I've been doing this for 15 years and I've never seen a case this well documented. Your grandmother was thorough. She was protecting me. She was, and now it's working." As I hung up, my phone buzzed with another call. Griffin, the cash buyer. I answered this time. "Miss Montgomery, I think there's been some confusion about the property sale." "No confusion," I said calmly. "The house isn't for sale. It never was." By evening, my Facebook post had been shared 43 times. The comment section was a battlefield of family drama, with neighbors, old classmates, and distant relatives all weighing in. "Always knew something was off about those two," wrote Mrs. Henderson from next door. "Deborah was the only one who ever visited Eliza," added my high school friend Sarah. But it was my cousin Mark's comment that really stirred the pot. "About time someone called out the family vultures. Aunt Eliza deserved better." My phone started ringing nonstop. I ignored most calls, but when Lindsay's name appeared, I answered. "Deborah, what have you done?" Her voice was shaking. "Mom is having a complete meltdown. She's talking about suing you for defamation." "Let her try. Truth is an absolute defense. The whole family is talking about this. Uncle Robert called Mom screaming about embarrassing the family name. Cousin Jennifer is asking questions about Grandma's finances that Mom can't answer." "Good. Maybe they should know what really happened." "Mom locked herself in her room. She won't come out, won't eat. I've never seen her like this." "I've never seen her face consequences before either." There was a long pause. "I found something," Lindsay whispered, "in Mom's desk. Bank statements showing transfers from Grandma's account to hers, going back 2 years." My blood ran cold. "How much?" 15,000, maybe more. She was taking money while you were caring for Grandma, telling everyone she was helping with medical expenses." "Lindsay, you need to—" "I already copied everything. I'm bringing it to you tonight." She hung up before I could respond. An hour later, Lindsay arrived with a manila envelope and red-rimmed eyes. She looked like she'd aged 5 years in one day. "I can't believe my own mother," she said, handing me the documents. "Look at this." The bank statements told a damning story. Regular transfers from Grandma's account to Victoria's, always labeled as medical expenses or care costs. But I'd handled all of Grandma's medical bills. I knew exactly what everything cost. "She was stealing from a dying woman," Lindsay said, her voice hollow. "Her own mother." "Did you confront her?" "I tried. She said it was advance inheritance and that Grandma would have wanted her to have it." Lindsay laughed bitterly. "Even now she's lying." My phone buzzed with a text from Darnell. "Can you meet tomorrow morning? Victoria's lawyer wants to discuss a settlement." I showed Lindsay the message. "Your mother's trying to make a deal." "What kind of deal?" "The kind where she gives me what's legally mine and hopes I don't have her arrested." Lindsay stared at the bank statements. "She deserves to be arrested." "Do you really mean that?" "Yes." Her voice was stronger now. "I'm tired of making excuses for her. I'm tired of pretending she's a good person just because she's my mother." The next morning I sat across from Victoria and her lawyer in Darnell's conference room. Victoria looked like she hadn't slept, her usually perfect appearance disheveled and hollow-eyed. "My client is prepared to transfer the deed as requested," her lawyer began, "in exchange for your agreement not to pursue criminal charges." "And the money she stole from my grandmother?" Victoria's lawyer glanced at his client. We're not admitting to any wrongdoing. $15,000 in unauthorized transfers? I interrupted, sliding the bank statements across the table. Your client's own daughter provided these. Victoria's face crumpled. Lindsay gave you those? She's tired of covering for you. That money was for Eliza's care? Bullshit. Darnell's voice cut through her protests. We have receipts for every medical expense, every medication, every piece of equipment. None of it matches your withdrawals. Victoria's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. She shook her head violently, then finally nodded. My client will repay the $15,000 and transfer the deed, he said. In exchange, you agree not to pursue criminal charges and to keep this matter confidential. Confidentiality? I laughed. After what you put me through, after trying to throw me out with $500? Deborah, Darnell said quietly, it's a good deal. You get the house, the money, and your dignity. Sometimes that's enough. I looked at Victoria, this woman who'd helped raise me, who'd been at every family gathering, every holiday, who'd watched me sacrifice everything for her mother and then tried to steal my reward. I want a public apology, I said. Post it on social media, acknowledging what you did and apologizing to me and to Grandma's memory. Absolutely not, Victoria snapped. Then we go to trial. Let a jury hear about how you stole from your dying mother while your niece cared for her around the clock. Victoria's lawyer leaned over to whisper to her again. This time she just nodded weakly. Fine, she whispered. I'll post the apology. As we finalized the paperwork, my phone rang. Harmony from Boston. Deb, I saw your Facebook post. Are you okay? I'm better than okay. I'm winning. Good for you. Listen, that research position is still open. Dr. Martinez is really interested in meeting you. I looked around the conference room at the legal documents that would make me a homeowner, at Victoria signing away her schemes and lies. Set up the meeting, I said. I think I'm ready to start living again. The mediation was scheduled for Thursday morning at the courthouse. I arrived early wearing the one professional suit I still owned from my Boston days. Darnell met me in the lobby carrying a briefcase that contained 3 years of evidence. How are you feeling? He asked as we walked toward the mediation room. Like I'm about to watch karma catch up with some very deserving people. Victoria and her lawyer were already seated when we entered. She looked terrible, gaunt, hollow-eyed, wearing a wrinkled blazer that suggested she'd slept in her clothes. Her lawyer, a nervous man in his 50s, kept shuffling papers and avoiding eye contact. Krista arrived 10 minutes late, apologizing profusely to the mediator. She looked better than Victoria, but not by much. The confident, manipulative woman from the kitchen confrontation had been replaced by someone who jumped at every sound. Before we begin, the mediator said, I want to make sure everyone understands this is a confidential proceeding designed to reach a mutually acceptable resolution. Actually, Darnell interrupted, my client has some evidence she'd like to present first, to clarify the facts of this case. He opened his laptop and connected it to the room's display screen. This is a video recording made by Mrs. Eliza Montgomery 3 months before her death. Grandma's face filled the screen, sitting in her favorite chair with the afternoon light streaming through the window behind her. She looked directly at the camera, her voice clear and strong. My name is Eliza Montgomery, and I am of sound mind and body. I'm making this recording because I fear my daughters, Krista and Victoria, intend to cheat my granddaughter Deborah out of her rightful inheritance. Krista gasped. Victoria went completely still. Deborah has sacrificed everything to care for me these past 3 years. She gave up her career, her life in Boston, her future, because I asked her to. Meanwhile, my daughters have visited me exactly 4 times, and each visit was spent appraising my belongings rather than spending time with me. The video continued for 15 minutes. Grandma detailed every manipulation attempt, every cruel comment, every broken promise. She spoke calmly, methodically, like she was giving testimony in court. Victoria has attempted to gain power of attorney over my finances 6 times. When I refused, she suggested I was becoming mentally incompetent. Krista has asked about my bank account balances repeatedly, always under the guise of helping with expenses that Deborah was already handling. When the video ended, the room was silent except for the sound of Krista crying. There are 5 more recordings, Darnell said quietly, each one documenting their behavior and Mrs. Montgomery's clear intention that Deborah inherit the house. Victoria's lawyer cleared his throat. While this is compelling, it doesn't change the fact that, oh, but it does. Darnell pulled out another folder. Because we also have bank records showing unauthorized transfers from Mrs. Montgomery's account to Victoria's account, $15,000 over 2 years, taken while Deborah was providing free round-the-clock care. He slid the statements across the table. Victoria's lawyer studied them, his face growing paler with each page. This constitutes financial elder abuse under Massachusetts law, Darnell continued, a felony punishable by up to 5 years in prison and substantial fines. We didn't know, Krista started. You didn't know your sister was stealing from your dying mother? I spoke for the first time since entering the room. Or you didn't know you'd get caught? The mediator leaned forward. Given this evidence, I think we need to discuss resolution options. Victoria's lawyer whispered urgently to his client. She shook her head repeatedly, then finally slumped in her chair. What do you want? Victoria asked, her voice barely audible. The deed to the house transferred to my name immediately, full repayment of the stolen $15,000, and a public apology acknowledging what you did. The apology is non-negotiable, her lawyer said quickly. Then we go to trial. I stood up. I'm sure the local news would love to cover a story about 2 daughters who stole from their dying mother while their niece provided free care. Krista grabbed my arm. Please, Deborah, think about the family. I am thinking about family. I'm thinking about Grandma, who trusted you to do the right thing. I'm thinking about myself after 3 years of being treated like hired help. I'm thinking about everyone who needs to know that actions have consequences. Victoria's lawyer pulled her aside for a heated, whispered conversation. When they returned to the table, Victoria looked defeated. Fine, she said. We'll sign the deed transfer and repay the money, but the apology will be private, not public. Public, I said firmly, on Facebook, where everyone can see it. The same platform where you'll explain exactly why you're transferring the house to me. Another whispered conference. Victoria's shoulders sagged. Agreed. As we signed the paperwork, Krista tried one last manipulation. I hope you can forgive us someday, honey. We're still family. I looked at this woman who'd given birth to me, who'd promised me everything and then tried to leave me with nothing. No, I said calmly, we're not. The deed was transferred that afternoon. By evening, Victoria's public apology was posted on Facebook, generating over 200 comments and shares. I sat in my house, legally, officially mine, reading the responses from neighbors, friends, and family members who finally understood what had really happened. But the victory felt hollow. I'd won everything I'd fought for, but I'd lost the only family I had left. My phone rang. Lindsay. I saw Mom's post, she said quietly. I'm proud of you. Are you? Yes. Someone had to hold them accountable. I just wish, she trailed off. Wish what? I wish it didn't have to be you. The house felt different now that it was officially mine, not just quieter. It had been quiet since Grandma died, but somehow more solid, more permanent. I walked through the rooms, touching furniture that no one could take away, standing in doorways that belonged to me. My phone buzzed constantly with messages from people who'd seen Victoria's Facebook apology. The post had gone viral in our small town, shared and commented on by everyone from high school classmates to grocery store clerks. I always wondered why those daughters never visited, wrote Mrs. Chen from down the street. Deborah deserves so much better, added my old lab partner from college. But it was the private message from my estranged brother Shane that stopped me cold. Saw what happened. Proud of you for fighting back. They tried the same shit with me 5 years ago. Call me. I stared at the message. Shane had disappeared from family gatherings after some big fight with Krista. I'd never known the details, just that one day he was there and the next he wasn't. I called him. Deborah? His voice was deeper than I remembered, more mature. Shane, what did you mean they tried the same thing with you? Mom tried to get me to co-sign a loan using Grandma's house as collateral. Said it was for Grandma's medical expenses, but I found out later she wanted to start some business venture with Victoria. He paused. When I refused and threatened to tell Grandma, they cut me out completely. Told everyone I was ungrateful and selfish. Why didn't you ever tell me? I tried. You were so busy taking care of Grandma, and every time I called, Mom would answer and say you were too stressed to deal with family drama. I figured you'd chosen their side. The pieces clicked into place. All those times Krista had mentioned Shane's problems, his selfishness, his inability to step up for family. She'd been isolating us from each other. I never chose their side, I said. I just didn't know there were sides. Well, now you do. And from what I saw online, you handled it perfectly. We talked for an hour, filling in 3 years of silence. Shane was married now, living in Portland, working as a software engineer. He'd built a good life away from the family toxicity. You should come visit, he said. Meet my wife. See the city. Get away from all that Salem drama. I might just do that. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope, not just for justice or vindication, but for actual family, the kind based on choice and respect rather than obligation and manipulation. My doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Harmony standing on my porch with a bottle of wine and a huge grin. Surprise, she said when I opened the door. I drove up from Boston to celebrate with the woman who just became a local legend. We sat in Grandma's garden with the wine, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. So what's next? Harmony asked. Are you going to stay here or come back to Boston for that research position? Both, actually. Dr. Martinez agreed to let me work remotely 3 days a week. I can keep the house, honor Grandma's memory, and still rebuild my career. That's perfect. You get everything you wanted. Not everything I wanted, everything I earned. Harmony raised her glass. To Deborah, who proved that sometimes the good guys really do win. As we clinked glasses, a car pulled into the driveway. Lindsay got out carrying a small suitcase and looking nervous. I hope it's okay that I came by, she said when I met her at the door. I left Mom's house, for good this time. What happened? She spent the whole day ranting about how you destroyed the family, how ungrateful you were, how Grandma would be ashamed. Lindsay's voice shook. I finally told her that Grandma would be proud of you for standing up to bullies, even when those bullies were family. How did she take that? She told me to choose between you and her, so I chose. Lindsay smiled through her tears. I chose the cousin who sacrificed everything for someone she loved over the mother who stole from her own dying parent. I hugged her tightly. You can stay here as long as you need. Thank you. And Deborah? I'm sorry it took me so long to find my backbone. Better late than never. That night, as Harmony headed back to Boston and Lindsay settled into the guest room, I found myself alone in Grandma's study. Her desk still held her reading glasses, her favorite pen, a half-finished crossword puzzle. I opened the desk drawer and found one last envelope with my name on it. Inside was a single sheet of paper in Grandma's handwriting. Deborah, if you're reading this, then justice has been served and the house is yours. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm only sorry it was necessary. You gave me 3 years of love and care when my own daughters gave me nothing but grief and greed. This house isn't payment for your sacrifice. Nothing could repay that. This house is your foundation for whatever comes next. Build something beautiful on it. Love, Grandma. I folded the letter carefully and placed it back in the drawer. Tomorrow I would start my new job, begin rebuilding the career I'd put on hold. I would reconnect with Shane, help Lindsay find her own path, and slowly create the family I'd always wanted but never had. But tonight I sat in my house, the house I'd fought for and won, and felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Peace. Kindness without backbone really is just an invitation to be broken. But backbone without kindness is just cruelty. I found my balance finally, and it felt like coming home.